Hey everybody, welcome to the latest edition of the Diamond Discussion. I am your host, Demetrius Woods, and today we are continuing our conversation around the Major League Baseball postseason. The wild card week is behind us, the division series is among us, and we got a lot to get into. So with that being said, let's get it started. Alright guys, welcome to episode 60, and as promised from last week's show, we're going to jump right into that topic of momentum versus rest. So here's the question for you guys. Alright, is it better to ride the momentum of a wild card win, or would you rather have a week off of rest going into the division series? Alright, that is the $1,000,000 question that we get every single October, and this year is no different. Okay, so I'm going to give you my pros and my cons to each of these, starting with the momentum piece. All right. I think there's two big pros to having momentum going into the division series. Number one, in my opinion, the bats. All right. The bats are already hot. These guys have had 9, 10, 11, your everyday guys at least. They've had at least 10 or so at bats from that wild card series. Unless you're the Dodgers, they swept the Reds, right? But all three of the other wild card series, they went 3 games. So these guys are getting 3 or 4 at bats each game. So they've had battle tested moments in the previous series. So I think that that can certainly pay off, and they don't necessarily have to warm up. They don't have to ramp things up to postseason action because they just came off of it, right, 2 days prior. So I think that's a big deal. And then the other side of things, or rather on the other side of the ball, as far as momentum is concerned, I think a big pro has got to be the bullpen. That bullpen is in rhythm. Everybody's kind of understanding. Okay, what buttons will the manager push? Okay, and what role will I play? Now, hopefully, they've been able to kind of settle a lot of that through 162 games, right? Working through injuries and things like that. But now that the full man roster is set, the 40-man roster is ready to go. Where do I sit, right? And some of those high leverage bullpen guys, they know what they need to have to be able to do and come out and throw at a high level, whether that's just 3 guys or to be able to span out and pretty much close that gap between the starter and the closer, or at least your setup guy as well. So what does that look like? Now I will say a couple of cons to this. All right, as much as I believe the bullpen has the opportunity to be in rhythm with the momentum aspect of it, I think it can potentially spread your pitching staff thin. And I know that's kind of like oxymoronic or counterintuitive or whatever you want to call it to what I just said about a bullpen being in rhythm. But just as much as we can be in rhythm from a bullpen standpoint, our starting pitching is not going to be exactly where we want it to be. Like you may not be able to start your number one guy to start the series off, and I think that'll be the tricky part to this for the teams coming off of wild card week, because like for example, you've got a high intensity game or series rather set up with between the Phillies and the Dodgers, right? I fully expect the Phillies to throw their number one game one. The Dodgers, you might see their number three or number four guy, and that'll be that'll be interesting to watch, right? How that series unfolds because of the momentum factor. Okay, so I think that's going to be a critical piece to it, and this is the second one here. I feel like because we're dealing with professionals, maybe it's a little bit less of a factor, but we're all human, and I think it still has to be mentioned. And I think that's the emotional highs and lows that come with duking it out in a series prior, right? Where you've kind of just got to reset and take a deep breath, and now we go in. Now we go battle again because we got a whole new team that may play the game a little bit differently than the previous team that we just got through, duking it out with, right? So the emotional highs, man, I don't think that those can be overlooked when it comes to a team having to play in the wild card week. So I am curious. So what do you guys think about that? Because at the end of the day, momentum is huge if it's used the right way. And I think it takes the right group of guys to be able to handle it, channel it, and then go after it, man. Just kind of try to be able to fire on all cylinders. So That's my deal, man. Pros and cons on the momentum aspect of things. As far as the rest is concerned, two notes for you. One is kind of stating the obvious, right? The fatigue, any injuries that we may have incurred throughout the season, or at least the latter half of it. This gives us an extra week to kind of heal some of those wounds a little bit and, you know, rest, right? And I think this is huge for the veteran guys, right? Really big for some of those veterans because I think they have understood, over the course of their career, how do I balance the rest and the reps, right? We talked about that a couple of weeks ago and being able to have a good, healthy balance between resting and getting the repetition that you need to be able to stay solid, right? So I think that's a big deal, though. The fatigue is over 162 games. You're gonna have ailments. Maybe it wasn't like a huge injury for a lot of these fellas, but a lot of them, majority of them rather, are dealing with bodies that are less than 100%, and we understand that. Okay, so that's a big deal. The second thing I think, as far as a pro is concerned, for getting that rest is your starting pitching, as I just mentioned about the Phillies and anybody else who's ready to go, the Mariners and the Brewers and the Blue Jays, they all got to sit out wild card week, right? Their starting pitching is perfectly set, right? Whereas these teams who went through wild card week, it is not, right? They're in the middle of their rotations going into the series. I think when you can start out your series with your number one and your number two guy, advantage you, right? And so we'll see how these opponents who got a chance to rest, what will they look like coming out of the gates? Will you notice that their number ones got rest? They got a chance to hit that reset button and get ready to roll? Or will they look a little rusty at the beginning? And I think honestly, that's the biggest con that comes with getting rest is trying your best to have to knock off some of that rust because it is incredibly tough, right? This is kind of my number two here, but in addition to the rustiness there, it's really hard to simulate, game speed energy, especially in the postseason, right? Where you have gotten guys who, are everybody's dialed in. We understand that, but you're getting everybody's knockout punch. Nobody's holding anything back. Nobody's really tweaking and working on different things. Everybody is full fledged, and you're getting mano a mano type action every single pitch, every single at bat because everything is so critical. It's so crucial, and everybody feels it. That tension is there. That the fans feel it in the arena. I know it as somebody who watches the game religiously. Like I feel it. I know when I'm watching my team, my beloved Boston Red Sox. Shout out to them this year. We'll talk about that in a second, just briefly. But like, listen, when you're watching your team, whether it's on TV or in person, like we can all read a room and we can feel the tension. The players feel it. All right, whether some of them say it's just another game or not, they feel it. We all know it, and we know where because the juices are flowing, right? There's something about that competitive fervor, man, that just gets us all driven, and we just go. And Major League Baseball players are no different in that regard, man. So I am pumped about these divisional series, American League and National League alike. So I'm going to take a quick break. We'll jump right back in, talk about these American League matchups specifically and how each of these four teams got here, and then we'll jump into the National League. So be right back, guys. Okay, everybody, welcome back once again to the show. And real quick, before I jump into these American League conversations, just want to let you guys know again. I'm gonna plug my Patreon again. And some of you asked, and I appreciate the DM. Some of you guys asked "Wait, will you talk about everything under the sun?" And when I say we're talking about everything under the sun, it doesn't matter. It can be random topics. I'm talking from I got a whole slate already set up, so I can't even, I'm afraid to give the teaser yet because I'll talk too much. Okay, so anyway, literally everything under the sun in the Patreon. And I promise, guys, I will get that information out to you guys ASAP. Probably give me like the next week and a half or two. I'll get it out to you about the Patreon. You can sign up. It'll be a minimal monthly fee to be a part of the Patreon, and I'm just thrilled, man, that a lot of you guys are wanting to be a part of it, and also just support me and my efforts for the Diamond discussion as well. So mad props to the fan base on that front. Just extremely grateful to be serving in that regard and being able to come up on this 2-year anniversary of the Diamond discussion and to be able to launch the Patreon as well in November. So anyway, plugging the Patreon right there because of you guys. Seriously, because of you guys. Thank you. Seriously. All right. So anyway, as I said, jumping into the American League. All right, we got the Blue Jays and the Yankees. How in the world did we get here? All right, first of all, we got brand new, untouched action here in the postseason. These two teams have never, ever faced each other in the playoffs before until 2025. So mark that off on your bingo card. The Blue Jays for a second, right? Listen, dude, they got the pitching staff to go all the way. I firmly believe that. Watching these guys cook all year, they won 92 games this year, largely led by that staff. Okay, those arms are for real. And they've got a good wide range of guys, man, just being able to mix in the off speed with the heavy stuff. Like they got it cooking. And I think the Blue Jays really have arguably one of the best pitching staffs in the league. Okay. They just won the American League East. All right. Them and the Yankees won 92 games apiece. They earned the tiebreaker because of the head-to-head matchups in the regular season. So shout out to the Toronto Blue Jays, man, winning the AL East outright for the first time since 2015, which is just incredible. When you're in a division with the Yankees and the Red Sox, and dare I say the Tampa Bay Rays and Baltimore Orioles as well, who have each had a tremendous amount of success in the last 7 or 8 years, both of them in their own rights, right? Tampa Bay going and competing in the World Series, man. The Orioles making pushes here as well. So listen, let me just tell you guys, these teams are for real in the American League East. It is one of the toughest divisions year in and year out to play in. And so shout out to Toronto, man, for making that happen. Now, how did the Yankees get here? Obviously, they had to go into a wild card matchup, and they got the opportunity to host their division foe, right? One of the oldest rivalries in sports, right? One of the most, I would say, one of the fiercest ones as well, right? It's lost its steam a little bit, right? Since the Jason Varitek, Big Poppy, Derek Jeter, A-Rod era, right? But it's coming, it's coming back, rather, and it continues to evolve into something new, man. You got a lot of young blood, a lot of new guys in each of those clubhouses, and it's really cool to kind of watch it unfold. And as somebody who loves the game, man, I couldn't help but just root for the game in addition to my Boston Red Sox. Yes, we lost the series, but what I told you last week is that I felt like in order for the Sox to have a shot, they needed to win Garrett Crochet's start. And my goodness, did they ever do it, right? Garrett freaking pitched a gem. But that's not to overlook the fact that Max Fried pitched a gem as well for the New York Yankees. I've seen a lot of stuff about, him coming out at 102 pitches. That's fine. Like, that's not a big deal. I'm not saying that as a Sox fan. I feel like you got to be able to trust your leverage guys. If you're the Yankees and you're built for the postseason the way that you are, you got to be able to trust your leverage guys to get things done. The Luke Weavers of the world, and others to be able to come along and get yourself in position in a one-win ball game to get it done. They didn't get it done game one, but game two, they scratched and clawed and they figured out a way to take game two. I thought that was the Red Sox game to win to close out the series. They couldn't do it, and then, man, here comes the rookie. Is it Schlittler? I think is his name. Forgive me if I'm pronouncing that wrong. But man, you had a rookie on rookie Schlittler for the Yankees, early for the Red Sox. Two rookies going at it, man, and 12 Ks, no earned runs, no runs at all, actually, and no walks through 8 innings. that's a gem. That's the kind of guy that you want. And let me tell you, the dude's pumping in like 99 miles per hour as well, right? So he's got, as a starting pitcher, he's got the gas with him. He's got the breaking ball action, and he was able to mow these guys down, man. 4 innings worth of strikeouts, so half your outs that he pitched in. You know, he pitched a total of 8 innings, so 4 innings worth of strikeouts, man. I'm just incredibly impressed with that. So the Yankees advance, man. The Blue Jays there, and here's the thing, I'll tell you, man. If I'm making my pick right now, which I am, because I know you guys are going to hold me to it, it's really hard for me to pick the Yankees. It was very difficult for me to pick the Yankees in the wild card series, but I did it anyway just because I picked with my mind and not my heart. And I was right about it, but I didn't feel like it was a far stretch to say that just based off the way the teams are constructed. Um, but in this one, man, I can't pick the Yankees. I just can't. I love my Yankee fans out there. I mad respect to you guys. All the props in the world for the 27 World Series and yada yada yada. But here's the reality: you hadn't been there, you haven't done it since 2009. You got there last year after a very long drought of getting there. And if we're talking about standards, right? Because we have to talk about these standards. The Yankee fan base, the Yankee organization holds itself to a higher standard than everybody else. And if we're saying, hey, listen, this is where you have to be to say that you are of the Yankee standard, but you guys have been falling short for so much, I can't. What do you want me to say? All right, it's not my fault. You guys set the standard. We're just holding you to it. That's all. That's all I got to say about that. So anyway, all that to say, the Yankees are going down in the American League Division Series against the Toronto Blue Jays. Here's why. Okay, not because I don't like the Yankees. Okay, because I don't. You guys know that. I'm a Red Sox fan. That's fair. However, I just feel like for this specific matchup, and I'm saying that clearly, for this specific matchup, the Yankees having come off of a wild card scenario where they had to throw Rodon in game 2, and obviously they threw Max Fried in game 1. They are going to be slightly rested, of course, and he may be ready game 2. Fried could be ready game 2 or 3 or whatever. But the Blue Jays, man, because their pitching staff is so strong, I think that gives them such a great advantage. And I'm not saying they're gonna go to the Bronx up 2-0, but I wouldn't be surprised if they go up, head down rather to the Bronx 2-0 and somehow finish this thing off in 4 games. So I'm taking the Blue Jays in 4 or 5. I haven't fully decided that yet. But if you guys are holding me to it, I'm gonna say Blue Jays in 5, and we'll go from there. So this other American League matchup, okay? Once again, a battle of firsts right here. All right, we got the Tigers heading out to Seattle to play the Mariners, man. How did these teams get here to begin with? Obviously, Seattle, man. Another big shout out, right? The Blue Jays and the Mariners. Shout outs to both of those organizations, man. As I mentioned, Blue Jays hadn't won the AL East in 10 years. All right, the Mariners have not won the AL West in 24 years. All right, so what an incredible setup for both of those ball clubs. And who knows, both of them could find themselves in the ALCS. We'll see how that plays out. But all that to say, man, the Mariners, big props to those guys, and they've got to take on dare I say, a rejuvenated Detroit Tigers team. A Detroit Tigers team who just absolutely looked awful the last 15 games of the season. But then they said, hey, we're coming into Cleveland. Everybody's 0-0 going into the postseason, and we're gonna make some noise. And as I mentioned earlier in the week, Screwball had Tariq. I couldn't remember his first name earlier in the week, but Tariq Screwball for the Detroit Tigers, their ace, arguably going to be the AL Cy Young winner if it doesn't go to Garrett Crochet of the Red Sox, in my opinion. So, listen, Screwball's the guy, and he is 100%. If they're winning his starts, then anything is possible. Now, here's the thing: if at any point they lose his start, advantage other team, whoever that other team may be. In this situation, the Seattle Mariners, right? If they're able to win Screwball's start, then I think the series is over then at that point. Point blank range, doesn't matter. All right. Now, all that to say, do I think that they're going to win it? Let's get there, okay? Because here's what I'm picking. I'm picking the Detroit Tigers to win this thing. All right, I know some of you guys may be booing me. I'm not anti-Seattle. I actually really love Seattle. I like the young core they got going on out there. All right, with Rodriguez, obviously Cal Riley, with just huge impact player, 60 home runs in the regular season. At the catcher position, by the way, incredibly impressive. All right, Cal Riley, keep doing your thing, brother. But here's the thing, though. All right, I just believe that the Tigers have turned it on, and I feel like, man, obviously they did not sandbag on purpose because they nearly missed the playoffs, right? But I've been to like travel softball tournaments, or I've been to like I've seen scenarios where teams will sandbag, or either on purpose or on accident. They'll just not finish strong, and in reality they're a number 1 and number 2 seed, but they fall to like, how the Tigers just fell. They fall off the map, and they're, a lower seed, but truly they're a number 1 team, right? Because let me remind you, the Tigers were fighting for the best record in the majors, all right, until like mid-July. So they're good. They're really good. All right. They could be in the Mariners' shoes right now just waiting on somebody to come play them. Okay, but that's not the case. And if you take a team like that where they're really good and now they've got some momentum, I can't help but say, listen, they might very well get it done. And the reality is that something is going to have to give in this series. The Seattle defense or the Detroit offense. They're both very, very strong. And so when you think about it from that perspective, I gotta go, listen, the Detroit offense, because of the hot bats, the momentum that I just talked about earlier in the segment there, or in the earlier segment rather, the Tigers are gonna get it done. So I say Tigers in 5. Again, this means they got to steal one on the road in game 1 or game 2. I think if they go to Detroit in game 3, 1-1, I think they go up in the series 2-1. They win that. I'm assuming school ball would start in game 3, maybe game 2. But either way, if they can win that school ball start in the middle of the series there, who knows what happens. Okay. So anyway, guys, let's take a quick break. When I return, we're going to talk about these National League series. All right. Beginning with the Brewers and the Cubs, and then going there to the Phillies and the Dodgers as well. Be right back, guys. All right, guys, welcome back again to the show. Listen, National League is as hot as it gets right now, man. These teams are looking good, and I will say this, okay, about that Cubs and Padres series. I felt like those teams were very much evenly yoked, and dare I say, it came down to the 9th inning of Game 3 to wrap that series up. And in that conversation, because I know you guys are wanting to talk about it as well, so I'm going to talk about it very briefly. ABS, okay, the system is on the way in year 2026. They've been testing it out, all right, throughout the minor leagues of the last couple of years. So the balls and strikes are going to get challenged throughout the season, and you're going to have situations like you had the other night where Xander Bogaerts goes down on a full count. It probably would have loaded the bases, I think, with nobody out. He gets rung up with the ball out of the zone, way down, and I say way down. It was moderately down. It was clearly a ball, though. Okay, even without the little box that they have on the screen, it was a ball. That would have been a little head tapper situation, obviously, and it would have been overturned. And now you got a runner advancing to first by way of a walk. However, that's the game. All right, that's how we live in right now. And here's the big deal. Okay, the rules will still get taken advantage of in some way or another, and these teams will be able to leverage in some way or another, just like they're doing right now. So I don't really feel sorry for the Padres by any means. I'm just acknowledging that because I know you guys are going to be in the chats or DMs and all that about it. So here I am acknowledging it. However, the Cubs still won fair and square. Okay, Don't take anything away from the Chicago Cubs. I told you guys, man, Wrigley Field is a tough place to play, and it will remain a tough place to play. And when the Milwaukee Brewers arrive down I-94 or across I-94, whatever you want to call it, in games 3 and 4, it is still going to be a hard place to play, albeit I think Wednesday's game is at 4 p.m. local time. So they're playing in the daytime. I think night games favor the Cubs even more so than they do, just like the LSU Tigers football team. But all that to be said, it's going to be a tough place to play. And I believe that the Brewers have been the best team in baseball, but I just don't think that they're going to get it done this series. I feel like, man, the Brewers. What are the Brewers? There's an NBA team that I know I should be thinking of right now, but I can't remember which one it is. I want to maybe even say the Houston Rockets. You know, the Rockets during those years where they were going back and forth with the Warriors. And then even last year, they keep getting picked off by the Warriors, right? Well, the Brewers keep getting picked off by somebody. And I think this year it's going to be the Cubs. I think the Cubs will get it done. I think they will too get it done in game 5. Now, I think that they could get it done in game 4 depending on depending on their rotation. How do they manage that? But I'm going to say 5 still. So we're still going Cubbies in 5. And if you've noticed, 2 out of 3 of my picks have been teams who have already had a wild card matchup. And my first pick were the Blue Jays, who did not play in the wild card, and I've got a little apprehension about picking the Yankees twice in a season like that. So really, I'm not picking the Blue Jays just because I don't want to pick the Yankees. I really do think their starting pitching can handle and overcome the rust of that. But you know, the Cubs, man, I think they can do it. I think they can get there. I think that them getting to the NLCS would be a huge accomplishment for that organization. Um, Obviously, they're looking to go win a World Series. I just think that whoever comes out of the Phillies Dodgers series is going to the World Series. I'm okay if the Cubs or Brewers want to prove me wrong on that front. But getting into the Phillies Dodgers series there, this is going to be a battle of two juggernauts. I think that these teams, this is the only divisional series that is not a first time matchup. All right. These guys have seen each other in the NLCS prior. They have been in each other's way for the last, 5 to 10 years or so in one way or another. And, but they're both built for the postseason. It's very, very clear. You got the LA Stars out there and Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, Shohei Ohtani, right? You got all the big names right there. Ironically, you got Walker Buehler now, in a Phillies uniform. But you got the depth though of Philadelphia. And so you got the big stars versus the depth here. And honestly, what I would say here is that the Dodgers got an advantage by getting a chance to have some warm up games, if you will, against the Cincinnati Reds. Now, Reds fans out there, do not hear me disrespect your team because they are good. And like I said, I just felt like this was one of those big underdog scenarios, and you saw it. It came alive in that series there. It was really the only series where it just really looked lopsided both games. And but that's how it goes sometimes, right? You got a young team in Cincinnati, and I think they can be back. All right, I won't say they will be back, but they can be back, and we'll see what they add in the off season, if anything, because I think that team is certainly equipped to be able to get back to the postseason. It's just in a matter of what capacity can they really compete once they arrive. All right, and they're in a very, very, very tough division. As much as I think of the AL East, I think the NL Central this year was the toughest division out there. They got 3 teams in, just like the AL East did, but the Reds are coming. So no disrespect to them. The Dodgers are a different breed, though. They swept them with ease, and I think what this will come down to, though, is the pivotal games for the pitching staff. Okay, when I think pivotal games, I'm thinking game 1, game 4, and game 5. Right, 2 and 3 obviously are important, but I'm talking pivotal games. And when I think about the way that the Dodgers staff is set up, it's set up for longevity, but they're also getting their 1 and 2 guys later in the series. And I think that the Dodgers can win game 1 or 2, one or the other, right, without their 1 or 2 guy throwing. And because of that, I'm picking the Dodgers to keep it going. So I will leave it at that for now, because we're gonna really dig deep into this thing once the championship series rolls around. But just to kind of recap real quick, my picks, all right, for the American League Championship Series, all right, I got the Blue Jays taking on the Tigers, and then for the National League Championship Series, I got the Dodgers taking on the Cubs, which would be a lot of fun. Both of those series, I think, would be really really cool to see in person, even. So with that being said, guys, we're gonna wrap up the show with my thought you should know moment. And just let me slow down for a second. I know we're just heavy into the baseball stuff, which is fantastic. And I've said this on the show a couple of times before, that I believe that there are two things, man, that unite people a ton. Number one is music, and number two, sports, right? Exactly why you guys are here right now is to hear me ramble on and yap about sports, debate me, whatever you want to do, okay? But that is my thought you should know moment. Find common ground. All right. Find a way to be able to find some common ground with the people in your life. Okay, because that is the absolute best way, right, to make sure that this world is the way that we want it to be. Okay. I won't lecture. I'll just say find common ground. Whatever that means to you, go find some common ground with somebody you don't have it with. It's always great to surround yourself with like-minded people, but there are other people out there in your world, man, that could certainly use you in their life, even though you guys may not have a ton in common on the surface. But when you really dig deep, you'll never know what you could find. So anyway, guys, we're wrapping this thing up. So please let every single thing you do be done in love, because at the end of the day, that's what makes this world go round. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to my second show in 1 week, and we will catch you guys next time. Take care.